Whether it be my story or my guest stories, we all share parts of the human experience. In our own ways, we have all faced triumph and challenges, both joy and pain, both gratitude and grief. My life changed forever on October 11, 2019, the day I had a stroke. It had a ripple effect, not only for me, but also for those I cherish. Through grace, we are here today to pay it forward. It's my mission to focus on what brings us together and help people find their path through life stories. Andrea de la Garza has a beautiful story to tell us about her son, Amari, a 14-year-old boy full of life and the apple of Andrea's eye. They shared a bond and life's journey together. Amari was born with Down syndrome, but this did not stop him. He was full of life and they did everything together. Unfortunately, one day, Andrea's world was ripped apart with the passing of Amari. I always say that everyone has a story, and Andrea clearly has an emotional one. Welcome to our series, The Power of a Voice. Andrea.
Yes.
Do you know that Whole Foods is your lucky spot?
I do. I do indeed.
And it's my lucky spot because that's where we reconnected. Yeah. And you first learned that I had a stroke. And my speech was not as stellar as it is today. And you thought I was drunk.
I remember, Lori.
But you have been so graceful to me. We're like sisters. You were never said a bad word about me or stupid or couldn't do it. You just were so encouraging in every way. And that's a bond that you and I will always have. As you tell me the story about Amari, I want you to know that bond is with me to allow you grace.
Thank you.
I mean that.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about your story in Amari.
Okay. I had Amari when I was 29, and we didn't know until he was 2 days old that he had Down syndrome. And the reason that they knew was because he had to have an emergency surgery right away on his intestines. And it was a condition that only people with Down syndrome have, called Hirschsprung's disease. Anyhow, right from that moment, I knew that he was different and that I had to be different and be accepting and open to whatever this child was here for, for me or for the world. Yes.
But you always were.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
yes.
In a different, the mission changed. Right?
The
drive.
The road took a right turn instead of going straight. Yeah. Yes. And it was never an easy road, but I was so determined his whole life to figure it out and be the best mom specifically for him that I possibly could be. And it was, like I said, it mentioned really hard. I took a lot of patience, and I had to speak with a lot of specialists, and what it ended up being was that I discovered it was within me, and I had to just try every day, and I certainly did.
No handbook.
No handbook.
Take the baby home, and what happens?
Yeah. So I often said that through my parenting with him, that there's no handbook to refer to, and I just had to continue to try and try and try to figure it out. And like I said, it was just, I knew it was within me the whole time, but I had to continue to dig deeper and deeper and deeper to find the answers. And he made me a better person. And he made me unique. He made me special. He made me accepting and loving and giving and generous and kind and compassionate towards other people, towards the world, you know.
You always were, but
Yes.
he pointed that out to you.
Yeah. Yes. And how important
Yes.
it is to each person, because everybody is so different. Most of his life, he had a happy childhood, and I tried to make sure of that. I tried to make sure that he was always stimulated and educated. And
You know what I remember? Like
Tell me.
when a word or a letter, that you did it at home, then you would go on a hike
yes.
and show him what the word was.
yes, yes.
Tell me about that.
Well, so I always wanted him to be learning, constantly stimulated. And so we would often, as you mentioned, go hiking, to the zoo, to the pool, to everywhere, family's house, and I would always refer to our learning in the outside world to help him remember it, And so, I would say, oh, look, a flower. And then, he had his sign language, flower. This is flower. What color is that? And it's purple. And then, when we would get home, I would find a purple flower, and I'd say, do you remember at Lori's house, the purple flower, to see if he could remember that and constantly be stimulated in learning and just, yeah.
And he did.
He did. And so anyhow, the rest of his life was fantastic. He did okay in school. He didn't like to be told what to do, so it was
Go figure.
Some people we know.
Yeah.
He was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So when the pandemic happened, it was he thrived at home. He loved to be at home, and he loved to be with me, and he was so comfortable in his own home, and we got to have our own timeline, and he loved to clean the house. He loved to help with the chores. He loved to put away groceries. He loved to help cook. He loved to read books with mommy. He loved to go hiking with me. He loved, we call them ADLs, activities of daily living. He loved those things, and he loved routine, and yeah, he just loved life. He was a lover of life, and he had a fantastic life, I would say.
And life was taken away from him.
Yeah. Well, so as I mentioned in the beginning, he had 3 holes in his heart, and that caused him to have a condition called pulmonary hypertension. He always had a hard time breathing, and it created tension in his heart. So it was monitored throughout the years, and we had to see a cardiologist every 6 months. And Amari was very healthy, and the cardiologist kept telling us, we don't know why, but it continues to get more and more severe, and we are baffled because he's one of the healthiest kids we've ever seen, and we can't explain it. And so we tried everything. I mean, he worked out with me every day. He went hiking with me every day. He loved to lift weights. He got 10 hours of sleep a night. He was hydrated, and he was so healthy. But the last thing that we tried, we were able to get a sleep study done in January of 2021. And they said he's a mild obstruction of sleep, obstruction of airway in his when he's sleeping. But to a person with pulmonary hypertension, this severe, anything mild could be severe. So let's try taking out his tonsils. So we tried taking out we did take out his tonsils in April 6th of 2021. And he did great. He had the procedure was a success. And he, the next day, was in his hospital gown, working out, doing squats, and like, let's get out of here, let's roll. And the nurses were all, high-fiving him, and he's so cute and so vibrant. And so they said, his oxygen looks great. He is clearly in great spirits. He's great. You guys can go home. We took him home, and the following days he was perfectly healthy and doing awesome, recovering well. And on Saturday, April 10th, we had a normal Saturday. We went to Pier 1 Imports to get a coffee table, and he was blowing bubbles. And, we went to the Botanic Gardens, one of his favorite places in Denver. And we met up with my husband, Amari's stepdad, Carlos. And all of a sudden, he said he wanted to sit down, and we sat on a bench, and we were just hanging out talking, and he started coughing up blood. And luckily, we were 6 minutes away from Presbyterian St. Luke's Hospital, where he had his tonsils removed. And I called, and I said, we're coming in right now. And we just headed for the door. And I was so grateful that my husband was there to hold him up. And while I was on the phone, we got him to the hospital, and they said, no big deal. The scab just peeled off. It's okay. And Amari was still in great spirits, while coughing up blood, saying thank you to the nurses. Thank you so much. And, spitting up blood. And they said, we're just going to go in, cauterize the wound, and we'll have you guys home tomorrow. And I said, okay, no big deal. And he's so strong. He's so healthy. And they took him back, and we sat out in the waiting room, and everyone went home, of course, except for me. And the surgeon came out and said, he's not okay. And of course, I was baffled. I said, what do you mean? What happened? What's going on? And they said, well, he coughed up a lot of blood. And I said, yeah, I know. I was there. I saw it. And they said, so we had to give him a blood transfusion. And when we did that, his heart stopped beating. He went into cardiac arrest, and his lungs turned into concrete. He had what's called a pulmonary crisis. And he had 2 of those in that year. And we didn't know what they were, but it looked like he was having a seizure. And each time I had taken him into the hospital, and they could never figure out what these crises were. And so they said he had a pulmonary crisis, and we are waiting for the surgeon to get here, because he's going to hook up his heart to a machine that will beat his heart for him. And we're going to put him on a machine that will breathe his lungs for him, so that his heart and lungs can rest. And I said, I don't mean to sound morbid, but are you saying that you're putting him on life support? And they said, yeah, absolutely. And of course, I just, my heart, and I burst into tears, and my knees buckled, and I fell. And so I called his stepdad, my husband, and I said, you need to turn around right now and come back. And then I called Amari's dad and said, you need to get over here immediately. He's not okay. And everyone rushed back, and the surgeon said, we're just doing CPR. We're taking turns. And they had been doing CPR for an hour before the surgeon came and did the surgery. And what it was is, again, putting him on this life support machine. And they said, we're just going to let him rest for a couple of days. And when his heart and lungs are strong, we will take him off and you can go home. And I said, okay, then that's what we will do. And we are on his timeline per usual. We're not in a hurry. I will be here for weeks or months if I need to, whatever it takes. And so the first night he did great. His body was responding and they were all pleased and so happy. He's moving his leg. He's doing great. His heart rate has come up. His pressures have gone down. He's doing great. And, and the second night he did great and we had a great team. Our nurses were fantastic and the doctors were incredible. They're just monitoring him every second and just, watching every monitor and just incredible. And then that third day, he didn't look so good. He didn't. His body started to let go, and his left lung collapsed, and they had to put him on dialysis. His kidneys started to fail, and they couldn't bring his heart rate back up. And they kept having to pump him full of more and more and more drugs. And I knew he was ready to go. That night I asked if it was okay if I slept in the next room so that I mentally and emotionally could be prepared for the surgery on Tuesday morning, because up until this point I had not slept in about 3 days. And so they said, yeah. And I went next door and I fell asleep and I woke up and I knew that he was gone. He was ready to go. I just could feel it. So I walked into the room and he looked just horrible. His head was bloated and he was not good. And I didn't say anything. I just prayed to God.
It's okay.
And I asked the angels for no more pain, no more suffering. I just wanted them to come and be with him on his journey and to hold him. The doctor came in and said, his left lung has collapsed and we're thinking we might do this procedure and we might look at this and we're going to end up, we both just said,
no more.
Stop. Just stop. And they said, well, sometimes it helps. And we said, just stop. And they said, okay. And I told my son's dad, I said, I don't want no more struggling, no more pain, no more torture. He's ready to go. And he said, we have to give him a chance. And I said, we have been this whole time and we can't force him to stay here. And he said, I agree. I said, this isn't my son. I don't want to sit here and this is torture for him. He's a basketball player. He's a swimmer. He's a runner. He's a lover of life. This is not my son, hooked up to 25 machines. And this is not him. And if he's ready to go, I want him to go. And they said, he's ready to go. And they said, take as long as you want, have your friends and family come down and say their goodbyes. And we'll take him off the machine when you're ready. So we did that, and we were so fortunate that nearly every one of our family members was within 20 to 30 minutes. They dropped everything and came, and some of our dear friends were also able to make it. And it took about 2 hours, and 4 people at a time got to come into the room because of COVID, and they each did, and they were able to talk to him. He could still hear, and I said I want to be with him and I want to lay with him while he takes his last breath. I was with him while he took his first breath. And so they helped me up on the bed and I held him in my arms and his dad held his hand and I laid with him while he took his last breath. And I laid there for about an hour and a half and just talked to him like I would if we were going to bed. You know, how much I love him and how special he is and how important he was to me, to everyone that ever met him and his family. And then we left. And I was there for the second that he arrived, you know, the second of conception, his first breath, every second he was on this planet. I got to be with him all the way up till the very end. So that was very special for me to have that opportunity.
So now you have a really big hole in your heart.
Yeah, in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what has that led to?
Well, so I'm a fitness instructor, personal trainer, and have been for the past 6 years. Mm-hmm. And that's been my passion, to help people who truly need help. Mm-hmm. And during the pandemic, my son, Amari, got to be my client because all the gyms were closed and schools were closed. And so
he wanted to have muscles like his dad.
He did. And he's always said muscles like Carlos, which is his stepdad. So we would work out together every day. And at first he could only do about 15 to 20 minutes. And then we worked up to about 30 to 40 minutes. And he loved it. He loved every second. He loved to film himself working out. And he'd like to send those videos to his...
He's sitting here right there.
Yes, he is, yes. And he would like to send those videos to his grandpa and his dad and his stepdad and everybody that would watch them. And I posted some of them on Instagram, you know, and he loved that. So I started to think that, you know, I had wanted to go to physical therapy school before the pandemic. And then it became clear that I think I need to work with people that have Down syndrome this is something I can do. Mm-hmm. I'm good at. I know it firsthand. I know their bodies firsthand. I see their capabilities and their incredible capabilities within, and all they need is someone to hold their hand, to guide them, and I can do that. Mm-hmm. And it would be my honor to do that. So when he passed, I said, okay, well, this is now my life mission. This is my purpose in life, to help people that were like my son, that all you need is a little extra love and someone right there to give it to you. And I've got that. I have it. And I have so much of it to give that I can't not give that.
And you are volunteering to say it.
Yes. So Gigi's Playhouse. So Gigi's Playhouse is an achievement center for people with Down syndrome. And they are a national organization, nonprofit. And they have a program there. They have many programs, but the one that I'll be volunteering for is called Gigi Fit. And it's a fitness program for teenagers and adults with Down syndrome. And I have just learned today, actually, that I will be the lead physical therapy volunteer there to head off this program.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it's a volunteer position, but I'll be there once a week, Wednesdays at 4:30 p.m. And I will be leading the program, the team. So I'm very excited for that and to get this journey started in honoring my son and working with people like him forever.
Okay, so I'm proud of you because you make it through every day. Sometimes not happy, but
yeah.
And you had the courage, Andrea, to tell your story.
Yeah.
Which to share it with me in this setting means a lot to me. And I hope if you can just encourage one person by seeing this, you will have honored Amari and they will pass it on. Thank you. It takes courage, and I'm honored that you would share your story with me in the audience.
Yes.
I love you, and that's all I can say every day is I love you.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you so much for having me.
Do you have a story to share? I'd love to hear from you. Please visit loricorken.com. There you will find more stories like the one you heard today with our series, The Power of a Voice.